Okay, guys, I just wanted to jump on real quick before this episode with a few thoughts. First, MD was great. This was such a fun and highly entertaining discussion. But where I fall on the whole alien narrative is quite skeptical, especially when it comes to the secret space program and some of the characters that he mentioned, like Emery Smith. Only because I've been around too long and probably heard too much that negates much of the alien narratives. But I still consider all possibilities. I think MD did a great job presenting this information. So I leave it to you to decide for yourselves. Aliens, demons, egregores, or just psychotic humans. It's all on the table for me. Enjoy this episode.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts, you have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is MD Selig. Check out my films, Doors of Perception on Amazon Prime. Occult Louisiana is on Tubi, Roku channel, Apple, and many more. We're booking guests for January. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome MD Selig. He is a decorated Marine combat jet attack pilot, screenwriter, and author. MD, welcome. How you doing?
I'm honored to be here, Chris. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on. Looking forward to discussing your book, Hush, a psychological thriller of alien manipulation, deep state deceit, and mind control. And these are definitely topics that my audience and myself will enjoy thoroughly. Right now, we're in an era where the discussion of aliens and non-human intelligences have not only become widely accepted, there are congressional hearings with testimony from quote-unquote whistleblowers. But if you've been looking at this with eyes to see, like I have for many years, there are layers and layers of deception, propaganda, and mind control to obfuscate the reality. What the reality is, I couldn't honestly tell you, although there are theories galore, but your book offers a unique perspective about the deceptions and alien disclosure, which we're going to get into today. Before we do, this is your first time on. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and let the audience know how they can find out more.
Sure, you bet. Well, my Reader's Digest version is I came out of the University of Arkansas with a history degree. I went right into flight training for the Marines, which is basically going through Navy flight training. All Marine pilots go through Navy flight training. So I went to Pensacola, Florida. Then I was selected for jets, and once that process occurred, I went to Beeville, Texas, which I think the base there is now like a state prison. They put them out in the middle of farmers' fields where we can't hit anything if we crash. So from there, I was selected to fly A6 Intruders, which is an all-weather attack jet, a two-seat attack jet. It's no longer flown. It's now a two-seat F-18. That jet went away, but my squadron, which was based in Cherry Point, North Carolina, eventually was selected to go for the first Operation Desert Storm. So I flew combat missions in Desert Storm at the same time of flying those combat missions. In January of 1991, I was also the squadron intelligence officer. So I was reading all the top secret traffic that was coming through, not only for our squadron, but worldwide, all of the stuff that was happening worldwide. And in addition, I would come to the mess hall at night after flying these combat missions and reading top secret traffic, and I'm watching CNN of all things because they had a huge CNN TV. So I would be watching CNN having just read these top secret briefs, and I realized these three different antenna, flying the missions, watching CNN, and reading the top secret briefs, were all giving me different information. I just had a sense at that time that there was some mechanism above the military, above the American government, above, it was just, something was strange about it. I just knew at the time that I was confused, and I'm a pretty smart fella, but I knew to just kind of sit back. Like my intuition said, okay, there's a bigger evolution happening here. And so I just kind of sat with that. I got out of the military after a total of 8 years of flying. That's one tour for a pilot. You have to stay in a little longer because they spend so much on you flying or teaching you to fly. So it's not just a 3-year tour. So you do an 8-year tour, and I got out. I've kind of always been a storyteller, always been a writer. So I went to LA to begin writing screenplays and doing the acting thing. I produced and directed a movie called Southern Justice, which was eventually aired on Netflix and Showtime, and then even now, and then I wrote for production companies for many years, screenplays, and then also doing the acting thing. I was like one of the guys in Zero Dark 30. You can look me up there on IMDb, but also I was kind of still mulling over all of the stuff that occurred during the war and my time in the service, and just watching the media and just realizing there just feels like there's something behind the curtain here. So the Reader's Digest version is, Hush is my extensive research on covert things that have occurred, basically your covert history from 1940 to about 1950, including Roswell and Cape Girardeau and a lot of the events that your listeners, I'm sure, are aware of. But I kind of start the novel from the standpoint of story. I always think if it's a good story, it's more fun to read. And then if they want to look into what I've done on the research as far as who's in the story and how accurate the stuff is, they might find that it's excessively researched. So hopefully they'll have some fun.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the introduction. Maybe you could give us a bit more of a synopsis on the book. Tell us more about some of the areas that you really focused on.
Sure. So I kind of weave two stories in the book. We follow a female protagonist named Viola Kells. She's a physicist. And it's basically her journey of realizing how hard she's been hoodwinked, which for me is my journey. And I think for most of your listeners, we've all kind of realized like, wow, we have been just completely hoodwinked here in the sense of there is so much going on that we're clearly not privy to, right? So I have always gone through the 5 stages of grief when I realize I get, finagled like that, when I just get ringed out and I'm like, oh my God, I'm a pretty smart guy. And I bit hook, line, and sinker. I didn't get any of this. I didn't even believe aliens existed. I'm a skeptic by nature. So what occurred for me in researching, and I'll get back to what is the synopsis of the book. The book is obviously her journey of coming to realize how they did the hoodwink to her, a physicist, and how could she be taken so easily as a person growing up who considered herself, pretty smart. The other half of the book, and it's not even half of the book, it's woven through the book. I had a wild experience in 2014 when the Malaysian jet was taken, because I was a combat pilot, because I'm used to radio calls in air traffic, and it's always in English. No matter where you are in the world, English is the language that all pilots have to use, period. Doesn't matter what country you're in. The air traffic controllers, everyone has to speak in English. Now, having said that, you very quickly realize when you land on foreign bases that it may be an Asian air traffic controller, or you may hear other pilots that are from different countries, and you can pretty much go like, okay, that dude's German, and that dude's clearly American, and that dude is Asian, and that one right there is from Czechoslovakia. I mean, you just start to hear, these voices when you're hearing air traffic all the time. And you just kind of get a sense. It's just like when you're out in a big city and you meet somebody at a bar or whatever, and you hear an accent and you're like, okay, cool. They're from somewhere else, and that's fun. But when those the cockpit radio voice transmissions were made available right after the flight disappeared in 2014. The flight disappeared March 8th of 2014, but very quickly, like a month and a half later, they released the cockpit voice recordings. And I immediately knew, because I listened to all of them leading up on the ground. I'm listening to essentially the co-pilot, Farik Hamid, making the calls, which is kind of standard if you have a senior captain that he was flying with, which he was, that Farik would make the radio calls, so that the pilot is kind of doing some other task at that time as they're taxiing, that type of thing. But I immediately heard the moment they launched, I'm like, okay, wait, that's an American. That voice is an American voice. That's clearly American. There's no Asian there. And it's the same voice for the rest of the flight. Mm-hmm. So in my covert military mind at the time, I'm like, because no one's mentioning it, I'm like, okay, so it's a covert operation. The jet has been taken. And this is standard covert work where you cover up the post, you control all the media, et cetera, et cetera. Now, for me, again, this plays into my years as a military pilot and reading top secret stuff and being involved in some covert operations where, everything is controlled in advance and afterwards. It's not just you do the thing and then it's over. No, you control every part of it. So I had a sense like, okay, the jet was taken because this is not Farik Hamid anymore for the rest of the flight. And for those of your listeners who want to hear those actual radio calls, you can certainly just get online and listen. But if you're interested in my version of what I am pretty sure occurred with the flight all the way to the very tragic ending at Diego Garcia, I won't go too much into it, but the flight did not crash. The flight was landed. The actual aircraft is in a hangar at Diego Garcia as we speak. It's a CIA hangar on the southeast side of the runway, southern tip, and it is disassembled, but it is still there. And the evolution of what occurs is in hush. So that's the second part of the novel. And if you take the audible version, for instance, it's you'll get to hear the actual radio calls, and you'll get to hear me identify, like, okay, here we're Asian, and then we switch to American accent, and it remains the same dude for the rest of the... I say dude. That's just the way I talk.
I'd like to get your insights into what we've been experiencing the past couple of decades as it relates to disclosure. I've been in this game for a while, uncovering hidden truths and having whistleblowers and looking at various conspiracies and government corruption. It's obviously there. There are layers to it, and I'm constantly battling with the reality versus the theater that they've presented. It's difficult to navigate these things, but when it comes to specifically UFOs and aliens, this is something I used to cover all the time. It used to be one of my favorite topics, but once I started getting through the layers of deception, and now our own government admitting the reality of UFOs to a certain degree, like I said in my intro, having these congressional hearings, different whistleblowers. If you compare that with other people's personal experiences, what they perceive to be real abduction experiences, contact experiences, there's a huge difference in what's portrayed there and what is being portrayed by our government and media. In my perspective, the truth may lie somewhere in between, but what that is, I still have no idea. I have plenty of different perspectives and theories. The biggest one I consider now is more spiritual in nature, that this may be more of a metaphysical phenomenon, but I'd like to dive straight to the deep end, work our way back. Peeling away the layers of deception, what do you think is really behind this alien phenomenon?
Okay, so that's a big one, but I'm going to bite right in there and just get in there and kick the can
Right on.
with you. So you can read about this in Hush. You will kind of get my overall take on this from years of research and doing the same thing that you've been doing, Chris, which is watching people who are abductees, vetting people, and all I can say is I use my heart. I try to lead with my heart. If I'm watching a Bob Lazar and over the years I realize his story hasn't changed, I'm like, the dude is telling the truth. Sorry, he's just telling the truth. He worked on an alien saucer, right? So, and you just kind of learn over time who might be disinformation and who's leading you in the truth. But let's go back to the gigantic picture. I think one of the things that's occurred, and fortunately, shows like this, you're starting to get the sense of it. The idea of focusing your attention on, let's say, the American government and thinking that you're going to get disclosure for them, it's not going to happen. And I'll get there in a minute of how that's not going to happen. But let me start at the very top. My best impression of what's occurred is before we even arrived here, a group called the Draco Reptilians arrived here. Why would they have arrived here? Because humanity and what's going to occur literally in the next year and a half is going to step into what we are, which is love. And when we step into what we are, the vibrational frequency of the earth is rising, we're rising, and our capabilities, we are literally considered by all of the alien races out there, benevolent and malevolent. It's a 95 to 5% ratio from what I understand from studying secret space program personnel, abductees, and everyone else who ever connects with aliens. They basically said, you guys, you humans, are royalty. And all I can tell you is we're considered royalty because of our capability. Because when we step in, when we explode into what we are, which is essentially love, we are multidimensional beings. Right now, you and I exist in what's called the third density. We can see each other because we're in the third density. We can't see Draco reptilians who reside in the lower fourth density. They can see us and they can appear to us, just like Nordics can appear to us from the seventh density. Those capabilities are just advanced races who are older than us. But trust me, when we step into what we're about to be, we will be able to move through maybe even more than 13 densities. In other words, we're multi-dimensional beings that when we step into our heart space, not here, when we get quiet and we go inside and we allow this, our superpower, to explode, that's what the alien races mean by when you guys do it, oh, just stand by, because you're literally unstoppable. So you have to remember, as we all know, that alien races have something like a looking glass technology where they can look at different timelines and they can go, what's going to occur with the Earth? Well, the malevolent races, and I'll just name three to kind of give you a sense. The Draco reptilians are kind of the mafia king dogs in the multiverse. They are known as planet-conquering hordes. Now, that's not all Draco. There's a lot of great Draco out there. Don't get me wrong. It's a faction of that race. Just like we have a faction of humanity that's Nazis, and we might go, those fellows are rough. They do some depraved things. That's not humanity as a whole, right? We're an amazing race. We offer so much. And do we have a little bit of a dark side in certain areas? Sure we do. Do we make mistakes? Sure we do. But overall, we're rocking, right? The Draco reptilians and the Draco that actually live within the planet are considered a very peaceful race by all that actually know them. But they have a faction called the Draco Reptilians that are literally known as a planet-conquering horde, and they have conquered many worlds, and they knew that we were about to rise. Okay? So, again, I'm taking you big picture here. What occurred before humans even evolved into what we are were, from what I understand, this is through research and other sources, a long time ago, the benevolent alien races, and remember, in the multiverse, like I said, from what I understand, it's 95% benevolent. Okay, the 5% that are malevolent are here dealing with entities on our planet and have been since even before the 40s. From when Hush begins, I take you to the 40s of covert stuff that occurred with aliens. All of Hush has to do with alien interactions with humans, but the Draco, the Maitra, the Greys, those races, because they're malevolent, are willing to break what's called the Prime Directive. So your listeners all know the Prime Directive, but let me just do a quick Reader's Digest version for everybody. Every alien race, just like humans, you have to physically sign something that says you will not break the Prime Directive, which essentially just says you won't go to a planet where there's primitive people there or primitive entities and advance them with your technology for any agenda whatsoever. You can go say hello to them. You can show up and say hi, and you can tell them about your race, but you cannot advance them in any way. Hence, you have benevolent aliens. Sometimes your abductions that you hear about are benevolent aliens who are saying hello and, hey, what are you guys doing, killing each other? And they have questions for us. But they're not breaking the Prime Directive. They're just saying hello. But the ones that do break the Prime Directive, who have done deals with not only the American government, but all governments. And that's why I'm trying to tell people, quit looking at Congress or your American government for disclosure. It's far above that. It's far above all governments. What is controlling the evolution and the manipulation of our planet is a race that's much more advanced. They're telepathic. They're genetic geniuses. I'm talking about the Draco reptilians. They control the Greys. They can control the Maitra. The point is, and they don't want to destroy us, and this is another thing for people to understand, the Draco need us. And you say, why would they need us? They're smarter, they're this, that, and the other. All I can tell you is, you as a human are so far beyond when you're taken to your full capability. But let me just give you a simple example of why they're here and why they might want to control us and not let us know that they're here. Because the one thing about humans is, all of us know, if you tell us we've been manipulated, what's going to happen? We're going to rise. And that's what this show is about, Chris, right? Like, we want to know what the heck has been going on, and we're getting mad. And we've been looking at our Congress and all these other places, but what I'm telling you is the Draco run the show. Even if it's an avatar in government that you think is a human, it might not be. And if they had the technology to arrive here before we even evolved on the planet, do you think they have the technology to take over a human that might be your president, that might be the heads of big pharma, the heads of banks? Absolutely they do. They have that technology. It's known through the secret space programs and everything else. These guys are absolute masterminds. And the other thing about the Draco is, if you can have looking glasses where you can manipulate what humans are going to do as a group, well, if you play both sides of the field and you say, there's no such thing as aliens, and then you play the other side that says, well, there's maybe some aliens, what happens to humans? They go into this milieu of, oh, I think there is, but I'm not sure. And then Jack said he saw one, but I think Jack's crazy. They just make us all feel crazy, right? So let's keep it really simple, though. Let's say they arrive around Roswell and start, or let's say a little bit before that, with the Nazis in 1933. And they tell the Nazis, hey, if you'll go to this below ground base called 211, you'll see it in the book, but ice shelf in Antarctica, there might be some technology there to help you build ships for your off-world aims. The Nazis wanted to go off-world. Okay, this is in 1933. The Draco Reptilian, who appeared to them as kind of like the devil, because the Nazis were conjuring everything they could in secret ceremonies because they knew they were going to lose. They knew from the get-go, when they kicked off the war, they didn't have the forces to beat the United States and Russia combined, and they knew at some point it was going to go bad. And the Reptilians even told them, like, you're going to lose this war, but we have this great thing that you could do. You could go take some off-world ships and be the first to go off-world, which is what occurred. So that's a whole evolved story, but there's massive research on and documentation of Germans going below the ice shelf, 50 submarines taken out of the war to take personnel, scientists, not to Argentina. A lot of them went to Argentina. Hitler went to Argentina. Hitler survived the war. I know I'm just going to throw it out here because you told me to kick the can. Hitler survives the war, but I'm just saying that what occurred below the ice shelf in Antarctica, and let's be real, New Berlin is still below the ice shelf in Antarctica. It's a massive city below the ice shelf that has remained. That'll come to light soon. But let's go back to the simple story. Why would the Draco come here to control us? Let me give you a couple simple examples. You as a human are valued in space. You're a commodity. So if the genetic masterminds that the Draco are can take a few humans and go, let's amalgamate them with technology and let's sell them in the trade routes, that's gold. We're worth a lot. Let me give you an example of why that would be important, because everybody needs currency, so to speak, to get things, right? Everybody has an agenda. Humans are valued in so many ways, but let me just make it really simple. I take it back to the pirates of, let's say, the 1600s. A merchant ship is leaving Britain full of goods, and the pirates are like, we want those goods. And someone says to the pirates, hey, dude, you've got swords and you're going to board that merchant ship, but how about you try this flintlock pistol? Mm. And the pirates are like, hey, cool, yeah, let's try that. And then the next year, the same seller says, hey, cannons, bro. Cannons are the new thing. See the gold on that Spanish galleon? Cannons. You need cannons. We got them. We got cannons. So all of those ships that are leaving these ports with goods have to have what? They have to have protection. How do you get protection? It's technology. It's a cannon. It's a flintlock. Whatever it is, the newest thing, you're going to have that on your ship to protect your commodity. But guess what? The pirates are getting the same thing. That's how they do blockades. That's how Blackbeard blockaded North Carolina, right? And South Carolina. My point is, the same thing occurs in space. Space is a dangerous place. It's not Star Trek in the sense of it's all, the wonderful horizon. Certainly that's out there too. But if you're in space, traveling intergalactically or within the galaxy, whatever, you are vulnerable. And guess what? The one who has the high technology can board you and take what you have. So what occurs is, in the trade routes in space, and talk to any of the secret space program personnel, they're like, yeah, the one with the most technology kind of is generally better off. Now there's a whole other layer to that where we're talking about consciousness, and heart energy is still more powerful. I'll just give you a Reader's Digest version of that. If a ship is conscious-based, it can literally take down a ship that is fully technologically fortified. In other words, you can have a massive aircraft carrier size that's 20 miles long, fully fortified, and it can be taken down, scuttled by a tiny ship that is coming with heart energy, conscious heart energy. You say that's impossible. I'm telling you, it occurs over and over, and you hear about it from the secret space program personnel where they're like, this ship, the power of the individuals on that ship and that conscious ship scuttled our massive battle cruiser. Scuttle it, meaning shut down all of our systems. We had our life support systems. We had nothing else worked. This ship just approached and we couldn't fire up. Nothing would work. And that's what I'm saying, that that this whole next level for humanity that's coming, it's on you right now. The wonderful explosion is happening. That's kind of the Reader's Digest version.
There's a lot to unpack with that. Whenever people hear things like reptilians are in control of the planet, a lot of them that really don't go too deep in the research will check out and think it's a bunch of nonsense. Although I have heard too much eyewitness testimony, firsthand encounters. If you add that to the purely anti-human agendas that have been put forward by our ruling class, it makes a lot of sense that non-human entities may be in control of what they're trying to accomplish right now. Before we get to that, though, I want to go back to the MH370 flight that you were mentioning, and you said that this does tie into everything that's unfolding at very deep levels. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I brought in just the MH370 within Hush because it is, again, dealing with an alien-traded technology. And I won't give away too much, but certainly you can watch video footage online of the flight being teleported. It's being teleported by two MQ-9, or it's being filmed by two MQ-9 Reaper drones that are using Gorgon stereo technology. The flight is clearly on fire. It's at low altitude due to the clouds that are around it. There's just tons of documentation that this is a pre-planned thing, in the sense of those drones have to be in place. They can't catch up to a jet. So the entire evolution of MH370 was a completely pre-planned hijacking by the American CIA working for the cabal to bring technology that was on board that flight. Think 20 engineers from a technology company that was producing semiconductors in Texas, Freescale Corporation. There were 20 Chinese engineers. They were of Chinese descent. They were American engineers, but of Chinese descent, and they were convinced or coerced by Beijing to defect back with their American semiconductor technology in tow. And the CIA and the entity above them, the cabal, was not going to allow that to happen. Hence, the taking of the jet and the tragic evolution of what occurred, not only for the engineers, but all of the crew. That it essentially ended at Diego Garcia, which is a CIA-run base for the cabal, a top secret base that generally works at night, and it is a spaceport used by several secret space personnel who have come forward saying, I was at Diego in 1980. We were on board a mothership. We hovered above the base. We received and transferred goods via tractor beam. This is what we do daily. I mean, it's just a known spaceport, and it goes deep under the water. So that's essentially, I don't want to tell you too much because the book will be more fun to read if you can. But that gives you kind of the Reader's Digest version of why I brought in the Malaysian flight. Because, once again, you're talking about worldwide manipulation at the very top levels, in this case of the American government. But I want to be clear. It is not the American government that runs that operation. It's not the French government, not the Canadian government, not the British. It's above that.
Well, let's get a little deeper into that hierarchy and how far the infiltration by these beings goes. In my perspective, looking at all levels of power, there seems to be certain amounts of infiltration. I'm pretty sure that the United States government is fully infiltrated, but again, it's very difficult to decipher what's going on at those higher levels. All we have is the theater that they present, and sometimes whistleblowers that may come out and present information, but there's been, again, so much infiltration into even the alternative media that it's difficult to navigate these days and try and decipher truth. But would you say that all levels of power have been infiltrated by these beings?
To some extent, Chris, I would say yes. I think the more important thing here is try to and I'm only speaking for me, because what I've kind of learned over time is you could just spin forever on who's telling you the truth and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
What I would suggest moving forward, and this is coming from uh, sources that are kind of alluding to me, like, this is what you need to put out, and it's that this is the message. Use your heart. Look at what's on the news. Is any of it serving you? Because it's all fear-based. You're not going to get anything from congressional hearings except the same spin that you've been getting for years. I'll give you a quick example. 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, remember when the whole UAP thing off the ships, where we were seeing military fighters were seeing UAPs, and then we were all like, oh wow, it's all coming forward and blah blah blah, and then a year later we don't even know what happened to it, right?
Yeah.
That is their play. That is the way they work humanity. And what I'm trying to say is, take your attention and go inside. And this may seem woo-woo, but I'm telling you, what's coming for humanity has to do with going inside. Your power, your discernment, use your heart. And if you're watching a show where it just feels like this is just more of the same spin on junk that's never going to serve me, then turn it off. And try to find a space where you're leading with your heart. And what you're going to find is, you're not only going to get information, but you're then not trying to stay in the spin that the Draco who run this mind control wants you to stay in. What do they want to do? They're going to bring in AI Atlas. The CIA is going to bring AI Atlas. And what are you going to do? Oh my God, this thing's coming. And this is what we all do, right? This thing is approaching. What is it? And we spin on it. And that's exactly how they keep you from focusing on the higher level, which is, wait a minute, what are we? Who are we? Not what's trying to control us, but if we go inside, my experience, the more I'm going inside, even if I'm listening to someone spin on AI Atlas or anything else, is I'm just starting to realize, like, God, there's almost nothing to fear. As a human, if you go inside, you're going to quickly realize, like, wow. And the energy that's going to come to you, I'm not just talking about human energy, the stuff that's coming to the earth right now from the earth and around the solar system, those entities communicate via the heart. So I hope that's not too woo-woo, but I'm telling you, that's the real deal.
You should know what show you're on here. There's nothing too woo-woo here. You mentioned Atlas. Do you think that Atlas is going to be used to maybe usher in some more false alien narratives?
Well, it's already done its job, right? So again, here we are where AI Atlas just means fear in my book. Like, I mean, anyone who speaks of it, it is just more like, are they coming to get us? Who's in it? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you just take a step back and you watch how good their hoodwink has been for so long, now they're on the run. Why are they on the run? Because Gaia, or as I call her, Sophia, kind of the old alien term for the earth, she's rising. She is literally rising from the inside out. The vibrational frequency of our planet is rising. And if you just get into your heart, you're going to find very quickly that it's a different time. And I'm not saying things are going to happen on the first day. I'm just saying, take 5 minutes out of your day, get quiet, turn off your technology, and just show up on that same time every day. Just take 5 minutes. Watch what happens. For me, sometimes it will be an hour where I'm just in a space where I'm never so content, but I'm just telling you, there are other things that occur there that are even beyond woo-woo, where you realize, oh, I'm being whispered to here. That's all I can say. And the 3i Atlas and all of the media spin on everything, it has nothing nothing to do with your power as a human and what you can evolve to. But if you spin on that stuff, if you keep spinning on what they're feeding you, it's going to be tougher for you to get there.
100%. For myself, once I was able to understand that most of what we experience from our mainstream media, social media, global leaders is deception or has levels of deception that you have to decipher through, and it makes it easier to not let yourself be sucked in through the fear-based nonsense that they're trying to portray. When it comes to what we're experiencing now and have been for a while, what do you think is the desired outcome of these groups and the non-human controllers? Where do you think they ultimately want humanity to go? And then we'll discuss what's really happening.
Okay. All right. So I'm understanding, Chris, that you're saying if they could have it in their perfect malevolent world, what would it look like? It looks like what Earth looks like now. And the reason I say that is, well, I should say maybe 5 years ago when they were really prominent. They're literally having to physically leave the planet now because of the vibratory frequency of what's occurring here. The reptilians can't stay literally on the planet in the energy that they're in because of what's occurring here. So that's some great news. But in their perfect world, which it was for quite some time here, humans were being used throughout the planet. And I won't go into the heavy darkness of what was occurring with humans, but also off planet. So when they controlled us at the level that they did, we were essentially slaves, but not only as a food source, and I won't go too heavy into that, you can read about it in Hush, but that same group would sell us off-world because we're worth a lot as a food source out in the galaxy, but we're also worth a lot as super soldiers amalgamated with technology. We just have so many things that allow groups like the Draco to even have more power and control out in the galactic trade routes, because remember, it's all about what you have to offer. And a lot of the malevolent alien races would love to have the capability to interact with humans and have humans for various things. And we're rare. And we're rare because of what I talked about earlier, because of our potential, our capability. And so in that perfect world that they have been using with us here in our lifetimes, the darkness that was here and still is here to some extent was their perfect world. Now they're on the run, and that's why I'm saying what's going to occur between now and roughly 2027, if you'll just use your heart to decipher no matter what ships come or whatever else physically occurs on the planet, if you'll use your heart to lead, just let your mind just become an extension of your heart, all of my sources are telling me you'll be fine. You have nothing to worry about, nothing. No matter what presents itself to you, even it might be a false prophet, it might be a perfect ship or several ships that land, say, in Washington, D.C., and benevolent-looking beings step out, or at least they appear benevolent. Maybe they're perfectly tall, blonde Nordics with blue eyes, and they can even make you feel so wonderful and heavenly when they step out, and you're going to be staring at these ships. And you may feel like the gods have returned and I'm getting off this crazy planet. Each individual will have to make their own decision. There's no right or wrong. I'm just saying if you'll use your heart to decide if you want to go with them, they might not be in your best interest. All I'm saying is use your heart to discern. You'll be fine. There is literally nothing to fear, nothing.
I've heard you mention the secret space program a couple of times. I'd love to get your insights into the true nature of this, because I've had guests that have claimed to have been involved in this, claimed to have been super soldiers or in the MK Ultra program. Many of them claim to actually go off planet and interact with extraterrestrials, and they have this incredibly advanced technology like jump rooms that allow them to get to another planet in an instant. That's all incredible. I consider it all, but I've also had the opposite side of the spectrum. People that claim that what we're being presented about this secret space program is even a psychological manipulation, that the individuals involved are being implanted with false memories just to perpetuate a false UFO alien narrative, and the entire disclosure movement is a deception in a sense that many believe we're really dealing with demonic forces that are trying to deceive humanity into believing in aliens, even good aliens that they would trust, but in the end they're being deceived by demonic forces. And all of this is a psychological operation to keep us in the dark. But I consider it all. I think it's fascinating possibilities either way, if extraterrestrials are real or if it's demons controlling everything. It's a narrative that we're not supposed to know about either way, but I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Sure. So I'm going to throw down here. No. The answer is no. None of it is fake. And I'm telling you, there are literally millions of races around you, inside the planet, outside the solar system. Everyone is watching us. These are benevolent races who are not going to break the Prime Directive. But the ones who do break the Prime Directive, the secret space program is a real deal. You can get on Gaia TV and watch Emery Smith for 30 episodes, and you'll very quickly realize dude is not talking BS. He's just telling you what he did 50 floors down at Kirtland in the 80s, working on aliens, helping with deciphering alien tissues, and basically working for the cabal to their genetically altering humans and aliens to create things that help them out in space, out in the space programs, to create stronger soldiers, to create stronger gear, to create hybrids of particular alien races that have certain capabilities that can be amalgamated with either a human or another alien race to give them another physical thing that they can use in their wars on various planets, to mine various planets. I'm telling you, the inner corporate conglomerate, mega corporations. I'll just take Lockheed Martin as an example. You wonder why disclosure isn't going to happen. You wonder why suddenly on 8th Street that the Congress says, hey, we're now opening the Alien Museum and all the Roswell ships and everything are going to be there for you to come down. No, that's not going to happen, because you've got, say, Lockheed Martin, just as an example, gets their first ships in after Roswell. They are reverse engineering those ships, and within 10 to 15 years, the TR-3B is flying daily out of McCord, going to the Lunar Operations Command on the dark side of the moon. That's where all the bases are. That's why your moon doesn't rotate. It's not organic. Look at any other moon around any other planet. They all rotate around their planet. Ours doesn't. You kind of wonder why. Yeah. So when I say I'm throwing down everything that you can imagine, Star Trek, Star Wars, everything in your wildest fantasies as far as technology, it's far beyond all of that, and you're now starting to see it. You're going to have actual interactions by 2027. I'm just saying, it's all cool and fun, and technology is cool. You'll find the inside space is more fun. I try to give an example. It's fun to go into an electronics store, right? We go in and we're like, God, there's all this cool stuff in here.
Yeah.
But once you leave the electronics store, you kind of realize, like, at the end of the day, it's still, you get more out of meditation. Why is that? Because this here inside is that home that you're looking for. It's that place where you're never so content. There's no technology that you can pick up that's going to give you this kind of joy. And that's what the races that are here watching this unfold on our planet right now are trying to tell us. Go inside, humanity. Quit looking out. Quit getting deceived on and on again. Go inside. You'll be fine.
Do you think that the way AI is being utilized right now is an intentional threat that was developed by these non-human entities? If you look at the direction it's going, the interactions people are having, the level of deceptions that's even coming out of AI, it's very strange, and it makes me wonder if there's a non-human force behind that.
I would say yes to all the above. And once again, AI is fun and use it for what you want for art or whatever else, but just realize where you're focusing your intent. And that's the best thing I can say around all of that, all of the new stuff that's coming around. I'm just saying it's just another way to spin you away from you.
Right on. So last few minutes we have, let's talk about what is coming for humanity, the rise in consciousness. There's been an obvious awakening on many levels. People are searching for truth. They're becoming aware of the corruption of our systems. But ultimately, where do you think it's going to go?
That's a great question, Chris. We are being welcomed to the galactic community. That's where it's going.
Tell us a little bit more.
We are literally being welcomed. We have now, from what I understand, my sources tell me that we have somehow, in the last 3 decades, evolved much faster from a heart space and is who we are, much faster than the benevolent races thought we were, and that suddenly the time is now, that it's upon us, that we are literally, by 2027, we are going to be fully, you're going to know that you're part of the galactic community. It's a very exciting time. It's going to get a little rough because things always get rough before they get better. But the long and short answer is go inside to be prepared for that. Because the closer you get to yourself, it's all I can say is you're going to be contacted by more entities who only work from here. If you stay here, you literally can't. You're going to miss out on what's even more wonderful. If you just lead with your heart, you'll be fine. And but it's going to get a little rough for about 2 years here because the bad guys are in their last gasp. They're having to leave the planet. They're going to do what they can. They may try to do a human harvest where they take as many as they can with them, posing as false prophets, saying, hey, you might want to go with us. We can get you off this crazy planet. It'll be wonderful. We have technology. All I'm saying is use your heart to discern before you make decisions with what's coming very quickly for you, and you'll be fine. There's literally nothing to fear.
Do you think that there are some of these malevolent beings that walk amongst us, shapeshifters, or have the ability to pose as humans in some way?
Oh, absolutely. So when I talked about earlier that the cabal, like the folks who run big pharma, the media, the military, all the ones who make the critical decisions across the globe. This is not just the American government. All of the actual movers and shakers, the small group that can actually manipulate things, and particular individuals within each government, not just the American government, that are needed to kind of work that particular populace. My impression is you're dealing with a hybrid at best, if not a full Draco Reptilian within the human body. I'm saying, could they take me over and give you disinformation? Yes. Yes, I could be a Draco right now speaking with you. I'm just saying, if they have the technology to do with all of the volumes of information that you can look up on secret space program personnel, watch interviews, get on Gaia TV, watch not only Emery Smith, Jason Rice, watch David Adair, watch their stories of what was occurring in the 80s, 40 years ago, the technologies they were dealing with. It's exponentially beyond all of that, and that's just what those guys dealt with. They have alluded to what they saw, things that were just like, they're like you can't believe it until you're standing there. And you kind of get this sense like these guys don't even have any reason to lie. Their stories are so complex, and they all intertwine with what they see, even though they didn't know each other in the programs. They're seeing the same alien races. They're seeing the same ships. They're seeing the same ports. They're all going to Diego Garcia, getting supplies and returning to different planets. And you're like, okay, it's not just Diego Garcia. Many other deep underground military bases are involved. I'm just saying that there is volumes of information to let you know that the technologies on our planet are so far and coming from aliens, meaning Draco's able to put your soul in a beaker and take you over for a particular period of time for an alien agenda that no other humans are realizing they're dealing with a Draco. Yes, they have that technology.
One last thing before I let you go. There are many that believe that a lot of these narratives may be leading to some kind of false alien invasion. A lot of people doubling down on that with the Atlas comet and all the narratives behind that. Do you see that as a part of the agendas that is coming out?
So again, Chris, I think this is a perfect example. You and I could spin on that for 20 minutes about, oh, what could they do? They could start a war. We could see, aircraft come in. Or we could go, wait a minute. Who's feeding that? Who's feeding that soundbite? Who is perpetuating that? Well, we are to some extent. All I can say is use your heart. Don't spin on what you've been spinning on for the last 15 years. Allow there to be an adjustment for yourself. And I will promise you, it's going to be more fun for you. And there is nothing to fear. The invasion, the war that could possibly be, the this, that, and the other, the planet could... No, it's not occurring. What is occurring is all of us. And it doesn't mean it... And I'm talking about there is no hierarchy here. Just because someone's been meditating and getting into a heart space for 4 years before you does not mean they're higher on the hierarchy of heart level. These entities are going to communicate with all humans who just try to begin leading with your heart. That's the way these benevolent alien races have been pushing to us for years. Like, if you guys will just step back into where your power is, it's here, it's not here. Let this be an extension of this and just watch what happens. There's literally nothing to fear.
I love that message, man, and I agree. I don't think we have anything to fear. I think we're in fascinating times, and I'm looking forward to what the future brings. Now, before I let you go, is there any upcoming projects, anything you're working on that you'd like to share?
Sure. So I'm working on Hush Volume 2. So the one that's out there is A Covert Evil Volume 1, and it's your covert history from about 1940 to 1950, and it also includes the obviously the Malaysian evolution of what occurred with that flight. It's all alien related story, so hopefully you can enjoy that. And I'm just currently working on Volume 2 and having fun with my daughter and just really trying to go heavy into my heart space. I just feel like, Chris, it's changing me. It's literally changing me molecularly. And I'm nothing special. I just tell myself no technology when I get up. I make a simple breakfast. No technology is on. I tell myself I'm only going to sit for 5 minutes because I'm a fast food American dude. I want this to happen fast, right? I want this heart thing to... And what occurs for me, I've learned over time, is if I sit for 5 minutes, the next thing I know, sometimes I'm there for 3 hours because I'm in that space where I just realize, like, God, I'm me as love. It's the bomb.
Right on.
There's just nothing like it.
Well, thank you so much. The link to his book is going to be right in the description, but tell us again how they can find out more about you.
Sure, they can just go to mdselig.com, And the links are there for the book, and the Audible is fun if you want to hear the actual radio calls on the Malaysian flight.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's plenty of links there. And
awesome, man. Well, there's plenty more we can discuss, so I'd love to have you back on in the future. And until next time, everyone, have an amazing evening. We will talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. Hello, friends. I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order. If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order.